I am anarchist priest Reverend Nadine Morsh.
And by the beard of the moon wizard and my daddy's old truck, I'm KT Sunshine.
And us freaks gotta stick together. In this episode, we're probably gonna cuss. We're gonna gossip a little, and there will more than likely be mature themes. So if you are a child or there is a child in the room, viewer discretion is advised.
I'm absolutely 100% gonna fucking cuss. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
That's how we know that you're becoming a true New Yorker.
No, I brought this with me from the South. Y'all just are more fun about it.
We are pretty fun about it.
In the South, people get all weird, but that's part of the fun.
Yeah, no.
It keeps the Christians away from you.
Here, someone will help you change a tire while cussing you out. Do you even know where your jack is, motherfucker? Here, let me show you.
Yo. Now, all those cool children out there in Radioland, here's some fucking whatever we're doing next.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah, fuck.
Here we go.
We go.
I can't wait to bring you this tidbit.
Okay, now, just before we get into it, Nadine came up to me today and said, I have this thing. I won't tell you what it is, but also you may know what it is, but maybe you don't know what it is, but also I'm not going to tell you. And for the last 2 hours, I have no idea what this is, so we're about to find out.
I couldn't help it. It was just so juicy, and I wanted, if possible, to get an authentic, first-time reaction to this information, because it is so interesting and juicy and ridiculous.
Okay.
Today, Elon Musk left the White House, departed DOGE with a black eye that he reportedly got from his 5-year-old son, and Stephen Miller's wife, Katie Miller, as well.
Wait. He got it from her as well, or she left?
She left with him to become an Elon Musk staffer.
What?
Apparently, Stephen Miller had placed Katie Miller as a handler for Musk. And apparently...
Well, he's a slick motherfucker. I believe it.
Apparently, they hit it off. And they get along great. And there are rumors even the word throuple has been used. I think that's a misuse. It's a misunderstanding of what polyamorous terminology is. Because there's no chance that Stephen Miller and Elon Musk are hooking up. And in a throuple, all three people are in relationships with all of the other people in the throuple. This would be more of a Hinge situation.
It sounds a little more like a I'm fucking your wife situation.
Yeah!
Yeah. Like a traditional dirty style fucking.
So, Elon Musk has departed the White House with a black eye and Stephen Miller's wife.
Okay, well, so the interesting thing there is, I guess Stephen Miller's not powerful enough to just kill him, because that motherfucker's a Nazi, and he ain't above that shit. You see this guy? He's a vampire.
Yeah.
So maybe he just punched him in the face?
Well, Katie Miller's also the person who was sent to the border to try and make family separation policies, quote unquote, more humane.
Oh, good luck with that.
And reported back oh, it didn't work. Oh, you don't say.
Well, I can't imagine why.
Right. Surely someone who wanted to solve this problem could have solved it by ending family separations. Right.
That would have been a place to start.
But then this is their new thing. They did end family separations. Now they're just deporting the whole family, including the children.
Well, that's convenient.
Yeah. The American citizen children.
Yeah.
Yeah. That has been a pattern for a little bit. So
and picking up people on the way to their citizenship test.
Yeah, ridiculous.
When they've been told to report to naturalization.
Yeah.
Hearing. No, it's not the hearing. It's the one where you actually get the...
Yeah.
I had a friend that did this, and it's so, I don't even know the process.
There's so much paperwork involved with the process, and there's so much that you have to learn to pass a citizenship test. I mean, most American citizens would not be able to pass a citizenship test.
And marrying a citizen doesn't just get you in this shit.
It sure does not.
No.
It sure does not, no. As many couples are finding out now with one of them being deported.
Yeah.
There really is nothing that's going to protect you from white supremacist nationalists. Like, that's white nationalist Christians, or Nazis for short.
Convenient, the acronym.
Yeah.
Well, your skin color won't save you from those motherfuckers either, even if you are white.
Yeah. No, because they want big numbers. And the easiest people to deport are the people that are coming to their hearings and doing things legally and trying to do things the right way.
Yeah, because they know where they are.
But they've also deported a bunch of people, like, with green cards that, again, did everything the right way. And hold up. And we addressed this once before, but we're going to address it again because of how important it is and how Orwellian the language around what's happening is, because we're calling these deportations, but again, they are not deportations. A deportation is when you are returned to your country of origin as a free citizen.
Right.
That's what a deportation is. That's not what's happening to these people. They are being disappeared and sent to torture prisons in other countries.
It's deportation in the way the Nazis mean it. They're going to send you to a special zone where you don't have the protections.
Some kind of camp.
A place.
A focused sort of, maybe it's a concentration.
A concentration of...
But then people will be like, I had this conversation with the neighbor recently, and the neighbor was lamenting his ownership of a Tesla and said, I hate the guy who made this car. And I said, well, yeah, he's a Nazi. And this neighbor says, when you bring up Nazis in an argument, you automatically lose the argument.
Do you, though?
I was like, that seems pretty convenient for the Nazis.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Like, they just get to operate in this sphere of consciousness where we can barely perceive them and are not allowed to express the perception of them.
Oh, you said Nazi, therefore you're the real Nazi.
You lost, right? Yeah. Only Nazis call other people Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The paradox of tolerance is real. And if you don't know what the paradox of tolerance is, it's that in order for a culture to remain tolerant, it has to be extremely intolerant of intolerance.
Yep.
Because intolerance breaks the social contract. So, you have to be tolerant, but not of intolerance. You must actually root out intolerance with extreme prejudice if you want your culture to remain tolerant. And that is the paradox of tolerance, if you didn't know before.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just gonna. It's just the society eating itself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So back to this juicy. Can you believe?
Okay, so I have so many questions about that.
Right.
Obviously, it's not the 5-year-old.
What?
But would be entertaining if it was.
It would be funny if it was, but it would be even funnier if it was Stephen Miller, right?
What? Yeah.
Because that's a possibility.
Oh, God. What was it? Last week or the week before, Trump had that interview where he says, I'm going to leave the government. I'm stepping away from DOGE. I'm going to go back and do my own thing. Mm-hmm. But if you watch the video, he looks like he's going to cry the entire time. And it's very clear that he's not enjoying this interview.
Right.
So,
right.
And there's been rumors going around the White House for, I don't know, since the beginning of the Trump presidency, that shit wasn't going well between Trump and Elon and the whole crew.
And also, no one will speak to Musk's alleged drug use while in that office as well. Yeah. Because there was a lot of that, with a refusal to take a drug test and an admission that he had no intention of stopping his use of uppers.
Nope.
So that as well. I have a theory, and I don't like it. It's not as funny as everything else, all the drama that's happening right now. And so there's two things. One, this is good television. And if there's one thing that Trump actually knows something about, it's good television. So I think some of this is going to stay like vague, but like with people making wild conjectures about what's actually going on behind the scenes.
Which they probably enjoy.
Right. And then the other thing is, there's actually a really handy graphic that you can find online, but it's all of the departments that DOGE gutted and then how Elon owns companies that are getting government contracts that would have been, the budget for those departments, but instead is going to SpaceX, is going to Neuralink, is
some
going
of those
to
departments
X.
were actively investigating his companies.
Yes, that as well. So I think that it's possible that Elon already got everything that he wanted out of his time in government. That he dismantled all of the pending investigations against him. He dismantled the departments that were heading those investigations so that they couldn't recover. And then also disbanded departments that he could get those contracts or that he could capture that government money instead for one of his other companies.
Yeah.
So I think that, as funny as this all is, and as much as it seems like Musk is leaving in disgrace and drama with Stephen Miller's wife, I can't get past that. That's so
interesting.
It's good television. The Black Eye is also good television.
Yeah. Oh, man. He's needed that for a long time.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's ever gotten one before.
I don't know.
It's maybe his first. Wouldn't it be weird if that was your first black eye?
It came from your 5-year-old son. Or
Stephen Miller.
Or Stephen Miller.
I agree. He's probably... If he had objectives, he may have met those objectives.
Right.
But I don't know that he wants to leave. I think they're forcing him out.
Sure, that he's drawn too much bad press. I mean, I think he might also want
a lot of bad press, but he's also not a person you want to hang around with. And those people are also people, and thus, even if they're monsters, there are people they want to hang around with and people they don't.
Yeah, sure. The weird kid. A lot of friend groups have that one person that's not really in the group.
It doesn't have to be the weird kid. He could just be the jerk.
They're all jerks.
Oh yeah, they're all jerks.
Sure.
He's the world's richest man. He's gonna get his way about
most anything. Right.
And if he doesn't, he's gonna throw a fit.
Right.
And then they have to put up with that.
Right.
Even if they're somewhat aligned.
Only Trump is allowed to throw fits. Everyone else better manage themselves.
Okay, so here's how that works. Okay, Trump can throw a fit because he's at the top of the hierarchy. Other people can't throw a fit to Trump, right? So all those people are throwing fits. They're just doing that to their underlings so that they don't do that with each other, because that would fuck up their dynamics. Because they have to have that clear delineated hierarchy. But they're absolutely throwing fits. It's just not necessarily to people who's going to get them in trouble.
Right.
People they can get away with.
Yeah, the chain of screaming. It starts with your boss's boss and goes all the way down to your children.
Yeah.
Yeah, hierarchy is a raw deal. I don't really understand why human beings are in for it. It's very strange to me.
I like the sound of somebody having the answers, but in my experience, nobody does. And that we're all just trying to figure this stuff out. And, maybe I have something to add to it.
I think most of us have something we can add to it.
Yeah. I right now, hey, don't crush me, mostly. Oh my God. Okay. Going back to our previous conversation, which was not on radio, about the not the hedgehog, the woodchuck my dog killed today. Everybody's treating that woodchuck as if obviously it is an animal, but also we're animals, and there's a certain amount of separation that is artificial between us and nature and the other animals. And so for us to be so cavalier about the death of that woodchuck, for our masters, they feel the same way about us.
Yes.
Like, if we die, what the fuck do they care? We're just animals to them.
At best, we're a beloved pet and they mourn us a little bit.
Yeah.
At best.
At best.
But we're not fully human to them.
Nope.
Yeah. Also, that artificial separation has a lot to do with justifying everything else that we do. Like, you can justify eugenics, you can justify colonization, you can justify genocide.
It's just a matter of where you put that separation.
Yeah.
It's a matter of convenience for the people doing the separating.
Yeah.
Where is it convenient?
And usually it's also how close to me is that line.
Yeah.
Like, if you can only see the humanity of other people that are exactly like you, other wealthy, rich white men, for example, and everybody else is an expendable animal to you, then, you know, there is no morality that could constrain that worldview. Because you are more human, less animal, more master than all the rest of creation.
There's a Christian doctrine of that God set all this here for us, and that all of this is for our enjoyment and, you know, survival and pleasure.
Use and cultivation.
Use and cultivation.
But that's not actually what the Bible says. What the Bible says is we are stewards
Point
of
being,
this.
though,
Yeah.
they see us the same way. Is that the world exists for them.
Yeah. But I think that's, going back to that, I think it's really important that, like, that's a fundamental misreading of what we were said. It isn't here for our use and our conquest. We're meant to be stewards of this. We're meant to protect it and nurture it, not use it and consume it. You know, I think that if we do get to meet some kind of divinity at the end of our lives, there are a lot of people that are in for a rude awakening as to what they were instructed to do versus what they actually did.
That would certainly be more satisfying than the likely truth that there just is nothing beyond the Great Wall of Death. But that's not bad. Like,
yeah, that would be lovely.
Awesome, actually.
Right.
Like, I don't have to like put up with millennia of boredom. Also, like, you know, like, you die as a entity, but like all your constituent parts flow out into the world and become a part of a million other things. That's so cool.
Yeah, just like we are stardust.
Yeah, we're stardust. The whole our whole planet, all the molecules that make us, like, they're created in both heliofusion and heliosynthesis. All the elements that are heavier than iron are created through heliosynthesis, which happens when a star collapses. And then all those other products that wouldn't be able to fuse and create more energy than they take in to fuse get created. Like, a whole bunch of shit just gets shot out. That's like where all the gold comes from, the uranium, all that. And the reason why there's so much more of everything else than those things is because that's the shit that gets created last when the star dies. So, like, by the time a star is trying to fuse iron, you know, or oxygen, it's already used up its hydrogen and then helium supply. Like, it's I don't know, that I think that's really cool.
It is really cool.
And that stuff becomes all of us.
Our universe is so cool.
Yeah, it just gets recycled forever.
Yeah, and it's cool to get to be a collection of molecules having this experience.
Yeah.
And telling each other stories about why and how and what we ought to do.
What's up with that?
What's up with that? Yeah. I do really love that we have such different perspectives on this, because I feel like it's well-rounded.
Yeah.
On the one hand, like, I'm not just a divine perennialist. I would also call myself a Gnostic. which one of my partners has taken great issue with in our time, because
you're agnostic?
No, because I am agnostic.
Oh, agnostic.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas my one partner says, no, we're all agnostic because no one can have knowledge of divinity. And I'm like, well, I've had some really wacky experiences, so I count myself among people that have had direct experience with divinity.
I feel like telling somebody they're agnostic just because, like, we can't know divinity, I guess. I don't know. It sounds kind of arrogant.
Yeah. So this is a fun story. When I was a really little kid, I was having all kinds of wacky experiences inside the way my consciousness works as a person with schizoaffective features of my neurodiversity. And by the time the adults finally told me, like, okay, this was cute when you were little, but you got to knock it off now. Like, that overactive imagination has gone too far. I was already 10. And at that point, I had already had so many really wacky experiences as a result of my neurotype, as a result of my neurotype and as a result of, weird things being part of the universe. I have both a scientific and spiritual explanation for most things. I like to try and find the answer that doesn't preclude either, that makes room for the spiritual, but also acknowledges the scientific. I think that that's very important. You should be constantly revising your way of observing the universe and what you believe based on new information. Like, every time you get new information, that whole filter should experience a reset.
For me, I experienced the similar things, also having schizoaffective disorder. But growing up, that was demons. So that was the lens that my family chose to interpret that.
No, so for me, it was fairies and woodland creatures and all kinds of different critters of the natural world, including like animals and plants. And when the adults were like, okay, knock it off, my reaction wasn't, oh, I should knock it off and feel bad about this. My reaction was, you mean they don't talk to you? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. No, I had a very different experience on that.
That sucks so much. I'm so sorry.
Well, I don't know. I'm out of the church and doing my own thing, and I'm pretty happy about that.
Good.
So I worry about my father, though. Like, he obviously still thinks I'm possessed by demons, of course. But, like, he's also dying, and he believes in demons and shit. Like, that's not a good deathbed experience. Like,
no, probably not. No.
It's fuck. I wish my dad would smoke some weed and chill the fuck out. And I feel like that would have made his entire life easier.
Yeah.
Like, for me, the culture in which I grew up, and especially my father, are the things that set me back. They were the things I had to struggle against. But now, like, I'm like, in my late 30s. Like, I can see how much of a victim of those same systems my dad was.
Yeah.
And because there was no other way to be, unless you want to be a horrible sinner, which, of course, we're all sinners under that theology, which also, like, who the fuck cares? What does that fucking matter? It doesn't fucking matter. You're not a sinner. I'm going to tell you right now, listener, you're not a sinner. Especially not a sinner for doing things that is in your nature to do. We are animals. And thus we have a nature about us, just like dogs have a nature about them. And we're just doing our thing. It's not a big deal. You're not sinful people. We all do bad things, sure, but that doesn't make us bad people necessarily.
I gotta nerd out. You gave me a keyword, and now you've turned me into an unskippable cutscene for just a moment. So, the word that we have translated now to mean sin. In Aramaic, that word is hamartia.
Yeah.
And that word does not mean to create a great mistake.
Well, it doesn't mean evil.
It doesn't mean evil. What it means is to miss the point.
Yeah, to miss the mark. Yeah. I remember hearing this same thing in a sermon. when I was like 14 at Southwood Baptist, or no, not South. Oh shit, Southwood Christian Church. It's one of the churches I grew up in, and it's amazing that like a preacher could stand up there and say that.
It's true, but it's true.
I mean, it's true, but like you could just use anything for anything.
It's a radical redefinition of what sin is.
Oh,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not
If you
evil.
don't think you're evil,
you're not damned
yeah.
and doomed and bad and wrong and immoral for existing. No, you've just missed the point. Here's a great. This is my classic miss the point story for myself, which is that one time I was gifted a pie from a friend's mother. And it was a delicious berry pie, and it was beautiful. And I had 2 slices of it. And what I should have done was put it out in the main room and share it with all of my roommates. I was living with 5 other people at the time. But what I did instead was I tried to hog that pie all to myself, but I couldn't eat it in time, and half of it went moldy.
Yeah, pie is for sharing.
Pie is for sharing. I missed the point of having a pie, and that was a sin. Does that mean that I'm a horrible, immoral person forever and I'm damned to hell? No, I missed the point. I can learn from that experience and do better in the future.
I don't know. You did waste food.
I did waste food.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
That's messed up. I know. I literally still feel bad about this pie. Like I am carrying guilt from the wasted pie. But I think the most healthy, a well-adjusted thing that you can do with a bad feeling of feeling guilty or feeling ashamed or feeling like you fucked up or, you know, that you wish you had done something different is just to allow that feeling to help you make better choices in the future and not repeat being in the same position, having the same feeling about a new thing. And if you can do that, then like you're doing the great work of self-exploration and authenticity and self-actualization, the higher points of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that's great. That's awesome. You know, that's one of the coolest things we can do with the ability to self-reflect.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why we feel guilt in the first place.
Right.
It's like, so you remember to do something different the next time.
Yeah, exactly.
It sticks with you and it feels terrible.
Yep.
Until you do something about it.
Yeah. You know, and it's a constant process of just doing better than last time. You know, it's not better than somebody else, not better than a fictionalized, idealized version of you or...
Not perfect.
No, nobody's ever going to be perfect.
No.
Right.
We live in the material world.
But allow...
Material consequences.
Right. Allow your material experiences to improve you. And that's really the best anybody can do with those feelings. And I think it's great because you wind up, you know, doing things very differently and having a different impact and getting to see that.
Unless you're Stephen Miller and you just push that all down until the voice stops. You push it into the water of your emotional water.
I gotta
until the bubbles stop.
I gotta say, I kind of feel legitimately bad for Stephen Miller a little bit because as horrible as he is, you know, sending your wife on a task to wrangle someone and then having her leave with that someone is like a major miscalculation that I'm sure he has all kinds of feelings about that.
Oh, I wonder if he's going to spin out.
He's a monster, but even monsters have hearts.
Even monsters have feelings.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Stephen Miller, fuck you, but also, I'm sorry that happened, dude. That's messed up.
I don't know. Stephen Miller, maybe you should examine what has happened and why people feel that way about you.
Ah, yeah.
I think we said it like on the last podcast or something, but like rich people are actually pitiable if they weren't like actively destroying our lives and our planet.
Yeah.
But like, they're miserable people who live shallow, isolated lives. And like some of them, it's not even necessarily their fault to start out with. You know, like most rich people are born into money. Like you don't make $1 billion. You're born into $1 billion. You know?
Right. Yeah, think about the hole that all that money is trying to fill.
Yeah.
Like the validation and support and connection and love that should satiate a person. It's just none of that is there. And instead it's all just throwing money into a pit, hoping that you'll feel full, hoping that you'll finally feel
but it's not going to do
best, the most worthy, the most righteous, the most blessed. Yeah, this is so often the term money can't buy happiness is weaponized against the poor.
Oh yeah,
it's used to say like, you know, well, you don't need a little treat and you don't need anything but the bare minimum because money can't buy happiness.
Could buy your rent.
But the thing is that the statement money can't buy happiness is an excoriation of the wealthy.
Yes.
Not advice for the poor. The whole point is that like beyond a certain threshold of having your basic needs met, again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't know it, look it up. It is really important and cool, and, you know, placing yourself where you are there and figuring out what you need to do to progress further is pretty great. It's a useful tool. But beyond a certain threshold of having your basic needs met and being able to afford a little bit of leisure and pleasure, the things that actually bring people happiness are community, our hobbies and skills, our partnerships, both romantic partnerships and partnerships in endeavors in business. Friends, yes. Time spent together doing meaningful things. And when you live a really shallow life that's based entirely on how much you can consume, it's a lot harder to ever be satisfied by anything. You know, even the best meals, even the best, most expensive clothes.
Who are you going to share it with?
The most expensive watch, right?
You don't got nobody to share that with.
I mean, and even when they do, it seems like those partnerships are more likely to blow up or dissolve. That's what it seems to be. Mm-hmm. Like the amount of partners Elon Musk has had is a really great example. Like it seems like no one can tolerate him for longer than like 3 to 5 years.
Well, okay, so he has to like pay women to have his children. Like there's a whole like non-disclosure thing. There's a whole like a bunch of them who've come out because they can't get a hold of him because they need medical stuff for their children, mm-hmm. and they can't get him to sign off on anything. Mm. Yeah, no, the man, he pays. That's why he has so many kids. It's because he goes and he pays women, mostly women who work for his companies, to have kids. Like, literally, he's artificially inseminating women. Like, he's not fucking these women.
Wow. No, the funniest thing about that is that it's possible that Elon Musk has more children than times that Elon Musk has had actual sex.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Wow. Oh, no.
What an unnatural state of being.
Dear listener, oh, no. That is horrific. That is very special.
I mean, Grimes has got her own stuff going on, but do you think Grimes is greasing that knob? I don't think so. I think she got better sense than that. Although she did have a bunch of kids with him, and it has done a lot of weird, not cool stuff.
I think all their kids were through surrogates, though.
Were they?
I know at least an ex was.
Shoot.
Yeah. Many of them through surrogates as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, paying women to be incubators for his
seed.
Children. Yeah.
His dark seed.
Oh, so that's one of the things that's really interesting about Vivian Wilson.
Oh, yeah, his daughter.
Elon Musk's estranged daughter is so she, if you don't know, Vivian Wilson is a transgender woman. And one of the things that she has talked about before, I think this was in her Vogue interview, where she talked about how all of the embryos that Elon Musk paid for.
Oh yeah.
Were
He wanted a male. Yeah.
Male embryos. That's why Elon Musk has 14 sons or something. Some amount. A very large amount of children that are all boys. That is not an accident. That is something that Elon Musk paid for. And so Vivian Wilson said, like, well, my gender was a commodity to him. It was something that he bought and paid for. And that was the masculinity, quote unquote, or the idea of boyness or manness that I've been rebelling against my whole life.
Potential heirs.
Yeah. Potential heirs. Yeah. Well, and he's said some really disturbing things about like needing an army of.
Oh yeah. It's do you know Quiverful?
No.
Okay, so Quiverful is like a right-wing Christian movement to really just enslave women and have as many children as you can possibly have. It's real fucked up, but there's a like pseudo-religious version of that's not explicitly Christian that Musk is trying to do. And it's not just Musk. There's a whole bunch of like creepy, weird, right-wing tech weirdo bros who think that idiocracy is happening, right?
Right.
But they think they're the ones who have the seed that's going to. They think they're the intelligent ones who aren't breeding.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's a thing to believe. I guess in your tiny bubble where everyone who criticizes you is immediately expunged, then sure.
I think it's deeply ironic, given the message of the movie.
Yeah,
because they're literally the idiots.
Cracked has an amazing a video about how idiocracy would actually be a utopia. And if you haven't seen it, they listen to
experts.
Yeah, they listen to experts. The stupid people in idiocracy know that they're stupid, and they step aside when someone smarter is present to solve a problem. They want the smartest person in the room solving their nation's problems. There's almost no malicious stupidity in idiocracy at all. Ever since the pandemic, there's been even before that too, there's just this contingency of people that are ignorant and also malicious and also cruel and also go out of their way to make problems.
Well, I mean, that's before the pandemic. It didn't start in 2016, but that's when those people were raised into the limelight and given what they feel is a mandate to do whatever they want.
Yep.
And
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you remember the first Trump administration, but like hate crimes were up like 400% wherever he held a rally. You know? It was all kinds of shit. And then I don't know if you remember the boat parade, the one in Austin.
No.
Oh my God. It's amazing. Okay, so on all these lakes all across the country, there are like these boat parades for Trump. You've probably seen like the pickup truck version of it down your main street.
Right.
On the lake outside of Austin, Travis, I think, they held a boat parade for Trump. They had all their flags out and they had all these boats going up and down the lake. Well, the wakes from the larger boats capsized a couple of the smaller boats and they sank while all their brethren circled around them and teased them and like, I don't know, probably almost killed a few, but not intentionally, but just out of their arrogance.
Wow, that is such a great microcosm for the MAGA movement and for the Republican regime. Like, we capsized you, cry more.
And you're like, you've literally got the same Trump flag on your boat that's sinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's also a metaphor for tariffs and what's happening to small business owners across the country right now.
Well, I voted to get the oh man, did you see the guy, the construction crew guy? He's like, I voted for them to get the outlaws and the guys who were breaking the criminals out. But this is destroying my industry. We lost 14 good individuals, good workers. How am I going to get people to work these jobs? It's like,
locals don't want to do this work anymore. You mean locals can't afford to live there on the wage that you're paying to do that work anymore?
Yeah.
That's what you really mean. Labor shortages disappear when you offer a living wage. Anyone will do any kind of work for a decent wage. That's what's up.
And decent working conditions, too, because a lot of that stuff is about terrible working conditions.
Yes, that's also true. Breaks? Get fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sleep? Get fucked.
Harassment?
Work-life balance? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see. This is one of the reasons that RFK Jr. scares me so much, because with the pronunciations of happy farms or whatever, because I could totally see this administration just like rounding up all the people who are on antidepressants and shipping them off to do this labor that they no longer have cheap immigrant labor for anymore.
I'm sure something like that is the end goal, even if that's not what he thinks is what he's championing. And for a lot of rich people, like, you can just go to a rehab center, you know, and it's not, I don't know. I've been in a mental institution where people were rehabbing. It was not a good time, but none of us were rich. These guys can go to like the fucking Hamptons and go to those big luxury ones. And maybe that's what he's thinking. It's like, oh, people can just get unstrung from all this stuff out here in the Hamptons. But that's not where we're gonna go.
Yeah.
That's not what this is gonna be.
I think you're giving RFK Jr. a lot of credit. I think that family has been part of the ruling class for a very long time. And as we were saying before, you know, for people higher up on this hierarchy food chain, the human beings beneath them are animals, not people.
Yeah. And we had a whole episode about that last time. But I don't think he thinks it's going to be that bad. But also, he's doing all the things that would make it that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I no longer am satisfied to accept like incompetence as an answer when it seems like so much of this is malicious and intentional.
Okay, so in the news this week, Utah's own lawmakers fund study affirming gender care benefits for trans youth. This is kind of fun because when they funded the study, they thought the outcome would be what they wanted it to be. And instead, it just affirms that transition, for those who want it, trans people, makes our lives healthier, safer, longer, and more satisfied. So, fuck them. But thank you.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. So they're the ones that funded the study.
Yes.
Because they were thinking like, oh, this is bad and we're in the right and the study is going to prove that we're right. And then, so the study proved them wrong.
Okay, so...
And then after that, right, when the study proved them wrong, they reversed course and...
Absolutely not.
No. Oh, oh, good.
No, there's still a ban on gender-affirming care for minors. There has been since 2023, I believe, in Utah. And there's no sign of them changing course on this. Several Republicans have tried to cherry pick things out of the report to use against us, most notably like suicide rates. Because it's true, the trans community has a high rate of suicide, but that is not an excuse to make it so that we can't transition. If anything, that's the opposite.
Right.
And they have largely ignored the results of their own study, which there are Democrats who are throwing it at them, but they don't want to hear it.
Right, of course.
Yeah, which is happening all over the country. But in light of the Cass report from Britain, this report actually helps us a lot. So there was the Cass report in Britain, and then RFK Jr. came out with that 1,000-page report that we talked about last week or the week before. But having a study like this really helps us fight back against those with data, with researchers' names attached to it, like legitimate, credible science here.
Right.
which they don't have in the cast report. They covered up the people who wrote its names. And they definitely don't have that in the RFK Jr. report, because I'm not even sure if people wrote that.
Right.
I'm not saying it's AI, but it's long and it sounds like AI. It doesn't make any sense. So, good news, bad news. Okay, well, continuing in trans news, Lucas Strobel, a transgender man, was assaulted and insulted and charged for using the women's restroom. Nobody was in the bathroom at the time, and they have an F on their gender marker. And they also had the permission of the bar. The bar told them to use the women's restroom, and they did. And the bar owner came in, called him a slur, and then called the police on him. And the police did not charge him for using the bathroom, but they charged him with public intoxication in a bar and disturbing the peace. I guess that just goes to show you that even if you don't have a bathroom bill ban in your state, like South Carolina does not currently, that doesn't mean they won't pick you up.
It's so maddening because, like, this person already had permission, and it was because...
Well, they were told to.
Right.
They were told to do it.
Right.
By people who ran the bar. And I guess maybe they didn't contact or talk to the bar owner before they gave that permission, but also that doesn't give the bar owner the right to peek over the stalls and insult him and then call the police on him.
Right.
But we talked about a few episodes ago about how there's that thing going around, well, they pass these bathroom bills, all the trans guys will just have to go use the women's restroom, and they don't like that. That's politics on somebody's life. Like, this is a guy who didn't need that bullshit. For one, the conservatives don't care. They don't care about the hypocrisy of their own statements. They'll arrest trans men for using the women's bathroom just because they can. Right. And they'll do it to trans women too, but like using trans men as a gotcha here does not work. It's not appropriate. We shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, that's not even the only story recently of a queer person trying to comply with whatever bathroom ordinances there are, or just trying to comply with whatever they think the business wants.
Well,
and
there was a lesbian
still getting brutalized for it.
Yeah, there was a lesbian last week who went to use the women's restroom. I thought she was a man, and then they brutally beat her. So that was Katie Grass of Carpentersville, Illinois, which is northwest of Chicago, if you don't know. She went to the McDonald's with her 13-year-old cousin after a concert, and when she and her cousin left the bathroom, these strangers were sitting around out by the door, and they started harassing her. They started calling her anti-gay slurs, started calling her, all sorts of shit. And she said, "Well, I'm just a lesbian. Like, fuck, I'm not a guy." And that's when they started to beat her. She thought they meant to kill her. And she's quoted as saying, "This will affect me for the rest of my life." So this kind of anti-trans rhetoric, homophobic rhetoric, it doesn't just stay in the trans community. It affects women, all women, LGBT women especially, everywhere.
Yeah, it affects queer women, but also it affects cis women as well. It's a world where our gender conformity can be policed by strangers that are allowed to assault us if we don't pass for heteronormative. The bathroom bills also are specifically to force trans people to out themselves so that they can be targeted. Yeah. And that, like, if that wasn't clear before the effects of the bathroom bills had been seen, like, if you didn't know then you should know by now with the results that, like...
You should see there's a clear pattern.
Yeah.
Here.
Yep, exactly.
Well, let's transition into the Harry Potter thing. HBO has, if you don't know, announced quite a while ago a new Harry Potter series based on Rowling's beloved books and all that jazz.
So, me and my friends, we all were the kinds of Harry Potter nerds that went to the midnight book releases in costume, right? And all of us have also since divested from Harry Potter because we don't like the impact that transphobe has had on the politics around transgendered people.
Well, so, okay, they've got the new show coming out. And they say the studio says that they're not going to put her transphobic influences into the show. But also, like, you know, not hiring us is kind of putting her biases on display there. Although none of us should work for that. The whole thing is even if the show is trying to divorce itself for as much as it can from J.K. Rowling, her money came from Harry Potter. This will give her more money, and she has used that fortune to start anti-trans organizations.
Right.
She's using that money to actively hurt us. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna tell you to like. You can't like something, but I will tell you that this show will enrich J.K. Rowling, and she will use that money to hurt our community. And you just do what you think you should with that information.
Yep. There were people that were pushing back when a lot of us divested from J.K. Rowling, and they were like, but it was so important to you. Why would you just give that up? And it's like, because I can't knowingly contribute money to someone that's going to use that money to harm my community. It's the same reason I can't eat at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Like,
why would you eat Chick-fil-A? They spend so much money to make our lives miserable.
And dissolve our marriages and take away our children and...
Yep. Keep us from getting transition-related care.
Yeah, keep us from getting jobs. Keep us from being allowed to participate in public life. Like, the list goes on. So no, vote with your dollar.
In years. And I remember saying something about it like in 2015 or 2016. And my sister, she like called me out on it. She's like, if you think Chick-fil-A is so bad, why'd you eat the sandwich? And I was like, fuck, you're right. I haven't eaten a single one since.
Nice.
And it's like, somebody calls you out on your bullshit, like, think about that shit.
Yeah.
Examine yourself.
So the biggest problem with J.K. Rowling getting more money from Harry Potter is that she's already proven that she's going to use that money to hurt the queer community. For example, starting the J.K. Rowling Women's Fund. And that's all about advancing TERF
Well, it
policies.
offers legal funding to support individuals and organizations fighting to retain women's sex-based rights in the workplace, public life, and protected female spaces, which is just gender essentialist. Like, women are their uterus and their vaginas and their breast.
TERF.
And there's nothing to you outside of that. That's what determines that you're a woman, that you can make a baby.
Yep.
Unless, what happens if you can't make a baby? Are you still a woman? Do you become a third thing? What do you do about that?
I mean, the whole mindset for those people is that like any older woman that's no longer producing babies should be a part of childcare for those babies with with the younger mothers.
Yeah, but they're also still, are they still women? Like they can't do the central thing that you say that makes a woman. So like, also like intersex people exist, you know.
Oh, poor intersex people.
I don't know, their whole like philosophy falls apart real easy
like,
if you poke and prod gender essentialism.
Yeah, right. No, there are 6, I think it's 6 different chromosomal combinations that can happen that don't result in the death of the fetus.
Oh, that's a lot. I knew 4, but I don't know.
Yeah,
6.
I believe
That's pretty cool.
There's 6, yeah. There's of course male and female, but there's 4 others.
Well, it's
that
not
are
male
not
and female. It's
right,
XX, XY, XXY, X. No, wait, is it XXY?
Right, a bunch of
X. It's not 2 Ys.
It's a bunch of X's and Y's.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's not quite a Y. Sometimes it's like a not quite an X, and sometimes it's not quite a U.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, that's not the technical scientific term for these things.
Sure.
That's just what it kind of looks like if you look at the chromosomes in a microscope.
Yeah, it's
Electron
just
microscope.
so sad to be dismissed, to be erased, and diminished. It's like the same number of people that have red hair. It's like an astronomically small percentage, but it's enough of us that some, but you wouldn't know because it's not an obvious thing.
So fortunate in my life to know many beautiful, wonderful redheaded people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pour one out for our redheaded homies.
So in an Iowa town hall, Republican Joni Ernst had a bit of a viral moment when discussing the proposed cuts to Medicare and Medicaid in the big, beautiful bill as proposed to now the Senate. And we'll play that clip for you now.
So people are not, we all are going to die.
There are layers to this clip. So, first, there's the denial. People are not going to die. An estimated 20,000 people will die of preventable causes if these cuts to Medicare and Medicaid go through. So first, the denial, and then the admission, well, we're all going to die. And then the cherry on top is this hand wave of, for heaven's sakes, folks, like these 20,000 deaths are a completely reasonable cost to putting more money in billionaires' pockets and cutting vital resources for the poorest people in this country.
Well, she'll be fine, though. Like, they're not cutting her health care. The Senate, Iowa Republicans will still get great health care.
Right. Yep. Yeah, precisely. Like
provided by their employer.
The government. Yep. I don't think the Republicans are thinking about how bad the backlash from this is going to be.
Well, they definitely weren't thinking about that the other day. Mike Johnson was on TV this week talking about how members of Congress need to be able to trade stocks because they don't make enough money as public servants. The salary for senators, $174,000 a year, I believe.
Wow. That's so much more money than the people who are within the threshold for Medicare and Medicaid have.
Yeah, but it's their money. That's why it matters.
Yeah, it's really wild that they're willing to steal from us blatantly while arguing to enrich themselves further and enrich the wealthiest people in this country.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, the Monopoly game breaks.
Well, it's insult to injury to think that cutting our healthcare and our food availability, isn't a war on us. But also, we should be grateful to you and pay you more and allow you to trade stocks. A thing that, for the people who make the rules, is probably not a good thing for society.
Yeah. Yup. Yeah, it's almost like human beings can't be trusted not to game any system that they build.
Well, and why wouldn't they? I mean, if you could see how to do it and nobody stopped you from doing it, wouldn't you take every advantage in a competitive system?
Who holds a regime accountable? Who polices the police?
Yeah, who watches the watchmen?
Yep, precisely. Yeah, so that's barbaric and really upsetting. I think it's also important to point out in terms of a path towards resistance that our strength is in the fact that they don't think of us as individuals with the power of individuals that is equal to any other human being.
Well, our strength is they just have to get us to accept their bullshit. And if we can see their bullshit for what it is, we won't accept it.
Right. Well, I mean, it depends on how much conditioning you've been subjected to.
Well, yeah. False consciousness.
Right. And it's becoming more and more clear that there's a cult-like grasp on a great deal of people in this country. And it's really hard to break through the conditioning of a cult.
Yeah.
Because the cult has been slowly stripping each of those people of any part of their identity that wasn't related to the cult to keep them there as their only place of safety and community. It's difficult to figure out a way forward, but I think that they don't think of us as like individuals with the power inherent in every like human being, because all human beings have inherent value, right?
Yeah.
And like that's really where our strength lies, is that we are all individuals, sovereign individuals that are capable of great things. And when we pool that together, we are a powerful collective capable of great change.
Yeah. An unstoppable force of nature.
A natural reaction to all of the causes and conquests that have brought us to this moment. The company Palantir has been gathering government contracts under Peter Thiel. Is that right?
Well, Peter Thiel is the gay and far-right founder of Palantir. He's not the CEO currently. Alex Karp.
Alex Karp.
Alex Karp is the current CEO.
Some of these contracts have involved instructing government agencies to share data with each other and also gathering data on Americans. All of us.
Palantir, if you don't know, is a surveillance company, which is also named after the Seeing Stone from Lord of the Rings. You know, the thing that like Gandalf was like, don't use that.
Right.
Yeah. These are the, have you ever heard the Torment Nexus?
Yeah.
From the hit book, Don't Invent the Torment Nexus? Yeah. These are the guys who are inventing the Torment Nexus.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, consider yourself tracked. Consider yourself monitored. That seems to be the direction that the techno-militaristic oligarchy is steering us towards. It's really the only way for them to protect their power from the rest of us.
They did the same. A lot of these techniques that they're using now were actually pioneered in Gaza to surveil the population there. And what we're seeing over there in Gaza right now is it's kind of, there are targeted approaches, but also like there's just AIs that the AI said to kill this guy. I don't know why. I don't care why. But like it's like haphazard. It's only working so well, air quotes, for them because they don't care about who they kill or hurt.
Right. Lots of war crimes.
Yeah.
And soldiers have even come out and said, like, we were instructed to commit war crimes and we tried to protest and nothing happened.
When the government works with Palantir to create surveillance systems for its own people, and also anytime the government works to share data across government agencies about people, like, I feel like that should be a red flag because they never use that for good.
It's wild that anyone even allows it. You know, there's that mindset.
They're all for it. They're going to use it.
There's this mindset of like, oh, well, if you don't have anything to hide, but it's like,
yeah,
who's to say what you have to hide? If all of Project 2025 goes through, then there are going to be a lot of brand new criminals because a lot of things are going to become criminalized.
Criminality or not, though, if I'm not hurting anybody, leave me alone. Like, you don't need to be in my business all the time. You don't need to know what I'm doing.
Isn't that what these... Nobody. Do you remember in a blissful time long ago when these Republicans were all about small government?
Oh, they always said that, but
they didn't want the government in your business. I just don't want the government in my business, you know?
Well, yeah, they didn't want the government in their business. They don't care if it's in our business.
Right.
Yeah. It was always about creating a group that is protected by the law but does not bind, and a group that is bound by the law and not protected. Yeah. So we don't know exactly what they're sharing in this government data. We do know that there was a big breach 3 weeks ago by DOGE, where DOGE ran off with like a ton of tax data on people and medical data, like a lot of shit. We don't quite know what all they ran off with it yet. And it looks like if Peter Thiel is going to work with Elon Musk on this, and Musk is no longer in the White House with DOGE, but we don't know what he's going to do now, and we don't know what he's going to do with the stuff he's already taken. So I would say that if you can, keep your ears open about news relating to Palantir. I feel like this is a story that is developing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard about this FEMA thing.
So I understand that they canceled something important.
Oh, not just something important. The plan for something important.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, obviously DOGE came in, cut a bunch of shit from FEMA, and then acting FEMA administrator David Richardson. Okay, so Trump's guy, David Richardson, they canceled the strategic plan for hurricane preparedness this year. They've gutted NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Air, the weather guys. Right. That's where
Right.
If you use WeatherBug or AccuWeather or any of those commercial weather services, they all get their data not from themselves. They get it from the government. They get it from NOAA.
Gotcha.
Okay, so those guys have been gutted. The plan for the hurricane season for this year from FEMA is gone now. So basically this means that all the states and their own organized teams, which is different in every state, they're just on their own to come up with their plan for the hurricane season or to do anything about it or probably even get any response, because it looks like the federal response is real weird. I don't know if you've seen what's happened, in a bunch of states regarding tornadoes.
Right, yeah.
There was a big one in Tennessee and Arkansas this year.
Yeah,
and
like 20 people died?
Yeah, well, the governors have been like begging Trump for like disaster aid, and he's just ignoring them. And these are red states.
Wow.
So we can imagine what's going to happen, probably hurricane season this year, which I believe begins on the 6th of June. That's this month. And ends on the 20th of October. That's the typical hurricane season, but it's not always that. Usually we get 14 major weather events. Like 7 of those, 5 to 7 are hurricanes, and the rest are usually tropical storms or, I don't know, like a major other related weather event.
Right.
So, yikeroonies.
Oh,
Glad we're not in Florida.
And of course, this is going to impact poor people and disabled people the most because...
the people who can't get out easily.
Right, yeah, the people that don't have a way to access the evacuation routes that are stuck weathering the storm. Again, treat it as expendable. It's especially sad that it's happening to red states. It feels very leopards eating faces, right? Like, I voted for the party of leopards eating faces, but I never thought leopards would eat my face. And that's, it's like when you vote to gut critical systems that have been put in place over the years of having to respond to natural disasters, of having to respond to health crises, of like all these, like these institutions, for all their flaws, have been developing over time in response to what they have to deal with. And you're just gutting all those years of building and planning and preparing.
Well, the FEMA guys don't make federal policy. So they don't tax you. They don't manage any of that. The only thing they care about is your community's ability to survive a major event, hurricane, flood, earthquake, etc. So there's always just been this malice towards FEMA that really isn't quite deserved. Not that they're perfect. Because we saw during Hurricane Katrina, they definitely were not. But I would say more of that is on the Bush administration than FEMA itself.
Right, but
I'd have to dig into that.
FEMA was the middle management that was present.
Yeah, that's who everybody saw.
Under-equipped to handle the situation.
And 3 days late.
Yeah, and they don't set policy.
They don't set policy.
Right.
And they unless the governor of the state declares a emergency, which then is backed by the president, like the president declares a state of emergency in a place, that's when they get the federal stuff. So the governor can declare it, but that doesn't mean they're going to get the FEMA aid.
Right.
They'll get some state aid that the state has organized. I know in Texas, they have the state guard, which is a lot like the National Guard, but they're mostly just like useless.
So
not entirely. They do disaster relief and other stuff too, but
one of the reasons the tornadoes were so deadly is because the early warning system that had been in place was gutted.
Yeah.
So people didn't get warned, and a lot more people died. And
they've got no help in rebuilding now either.
Right. On top of the fact that insurance companies have stopped insuring places where flooding or fire are likely.
Or hurricanes, like those beach front properties in Florida.
Yeah. A lot of people are going to lose their housing and have nothing to show for it after this, with the combination of losing the early warning system and losing insurance. This is going to put a lot more people than normal out on the street from these natural disasters. On top of they'll be more deadly, but also they're going to displace thousands of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the direction this is heading. The administration still has some time to reverse course on some of this, but I mean, they've already taken really a lot of the agency's ability to coordinate a relief effort out, and it would take some time to put that back together.
Yep, precisely. It was built over time in learning and responding and seeing what people needed in different moments and what helped and worked the best. Like, it wasn't a perfect system. It was a very flawed institution, and it didn't have enough of its own authority or enough of its own resources to just act as a self-directed institution, which is really, I mean, the kind of thing that we would need is like a community self-directed emergency response.
Well, it's funny you say that, because during Katrina and lots of big storms, usually what happens is everybody thinks it's every man for himself. But what actually happens is that you and every other person you see start to come together to get you out of that situation. Mm-hmm. So I know in Katrina, there were several just spontaneous mutual aid organizations that popped up. Mm-hmm. There was an incident there where the FEMA wasn't distributing aid. And so they raided the warehouse and took what they needed, mm-hmm. and then distributed that to their communities and stuff. But that's actually a really common thing after these disasters, is there's nobody to help dig you out except for you and your neighbors. Mm-hmm. Just mm-hmm. anybody you see standing by.
Right.
Which is how we're going to get through this.
Yep. With trauma bonding.
But there's a reason people trauma bond, though,
You heard it here first, folks. This is our apocalypse plan. Trauma bond with your neighbors. Form communities.
Yeah.
It's important.
And if you're mindful about it, you can maybe round off the worst edges of that trauma bond.
So, we want to tackle the big, beautiful bill because
oh my God,
it impacts.
It's
so big, and it impacts so many of us freaks in very real and visceral ways.
Especially us disability freaks.
Yep. So we want to do more of a deep dive on that, exactly what's in there, and talk to you folks about that. So next time when you tune in, we will be tackling and picking apart and picking the bones of the big, beautiful bill.
God, it's 1,000 pages. They tried to ram it through the House at 1:00 in the morning. I don't know if you saw any of the video from the hearings. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of ourselves. Next week, on a very special episode of Us Freaks Gotta Stick Together, the big, beautiful bill.
Dear listener, are you hungry? If so, stop by your local Food Not Bombs and see if they can help you out. Maybe see if you can help them out. They're a great organization to volunteer with, and they make an impact in every community where they exist. And if they don't exist in your community, they are a grassroots organization, and it's totally fine for you to just make your own Food Not Bombs chapter. In addition to Food Not Bombs, we have Indivisibles and 5051 organizing No Kings marches on June 14th in opposition to the military parade that is supposedly
Trump's
happening.
birthday military parade.
On the same day.
For his birthday.
Oh, the birthday parade.
Little birthday parade.
For big boy.
For big, he's got the little guys. They
Yeah.
got the little hats. And
He doesn't need
the little
validation
guns.
at all.
No.
No. His daddy hugged him enough for sure.
Yeah. He's an emotionally stable president.
Oh my God. What a nightmare. So the No Kings rallies, again, 5051 and Indivisibles. And there's also on No Kings, I think it's .org. But there are quite a few organizations that are rallying around the rejection of monarchy, which is a super American thing to do.
Yeah,
It's
traditional.
patriotic and great. Yeah. If you are in the Capital District, New York, Food Not Bombs has a meal and food giveaway every Monday at 5 p.m. at the Social Justice Center, and a free store with clothes, bedding, sanitary supplies, and housewares. Also children's toys, different things like that. And it's really, really free, and that's every third Saturday of every month.
Well, news buckaroos, we've rustled enough news up for the day, and it's time to hit the old dusty trail into the sunset of tomorrow's headlines.
I've been anarchist priest, Reverend Nadine Morsh.
And I'm whoever the fuck I said I was earlier, KT Sunshine.
And remember, dear listener, even on your worst day, when you haven't got a single spoon to spare, your existence is resistance. And remember, us freaks gotta stick together. Yeah!